This article is the influence of task-driven flipped classroom instructional mode on English learning of rural middle school studies in China. And it includes three parts: instruction, literature review, methodology of research. First, with the rapid development of science and technology, a variety of information-based teaching platforms continue to emerge, making primary and secondary schools have more choice in education mode, learning resource, learning carries, and so on. In school education, more more attention is paid to the improvement of students' academic performance, and the traditional teaching mode is still adopted in the classroom. Due to the later limitation of traditional classroom teaching time and the large number of students, the lack of personality and targeted teaching may lead to poor teaching effect, and the effect development of the times has higher requirements for students' independent learning ability. In the information technology era, in order to cultivate students' autonomous learning ability and promote students' individualized learning, teachers must pay attention to the dominant position of students. Uh, Junior high school English teaching tasks are large. Class hours are tense, but the students' performance requires are high. So it's important to find a more suitable instructional mode to improve students' achievement, ability, and satisfaction. This research takes junior high school English course as an example to investigate the influence of task-driven flipped classroom instructional mode and traditional instructional mode on students' achievement, students' learning ability, students' satisfaction in learning English among rural middle school students in China. The research questions of this study are: is there a significant difference of the task-driven flipped classroom instructional mode and the traditional instructional mode on students' achievement, students' learning ability, students' satisfaction in learning English among rural middle school students in China? The following non-hypotheses will be evaluated to answer the above research question. There are rel- rel- relatively few studies on the and flipped classroom. This study can verify the implementation implementation effect of task-driven flipped classroom teaching mode in basic education stage and provide a basis or other course to carry out flipped classroom teaching mode. In this research, the purpose is to compare the effect between task-driven flipped classroom instructional mode and traditional instructional mode on students' achievement, ability, and satisfaction towards English learning in Chinese rural areas middle schools. The definition is given to the important terms that are used in this research, including task-driven method, flipped classroom, achievement, learning ability, satisfaction. Throughout the study, there there were a number of limitations. First of all, this study is limited to middle school students in rural areas, and time is limited. So there is only an 8-week study. In addition, the researchers were only able to analyze it for tests and questionnaires. But They were unable to investigate how teachers used task-driven flipped classrooms. Finally, this study highlights the application of task-driven flipped classroom in the teaching of blended learning methods. But teachers can also use other technologies for teaching activity according to their own learning habits, which is not controlled. The second chapter, we found that in the relevant literature, task-driven and flipped classroom studies exist in many universities and primary and secondary schools, but the combination of task-driven and flipped classroom learning is re- relatively rare. And because the rural middle school hardware conditions are very backward, many teachers still follow the traditional um, teaching mode, which leads to the slow teaching progress of rural students' English level improvement and improve the quality of difficult teaching. Then it will further explain the related theories of constructive learning theory. Uh, this related theories, constructivist learning theory. Um, it is a task-driven flipped classroom. Teachers return the classroom to students and set a series of tasks in the flipped classroom. Teachers to promote students to activity, process information, get students to autonomous learning and cooperation learning. Mastering learning theory. The task-driven method is introduced in the teaching of flipped classroom. Through the completion of step-by-step learning tasks, students are guided to develop into higher order thinking. Humanistic learning theory. Based on the humanistic theory, this study focuses on students' individualized development and independent development. In order to design a suitable learning task for students, teachers should pay attention to the student's recent development zone. And research. According to these studies, task-driven teaching method can be divided into three stages: the early stage, the middle stage, and the late stage. And task-driven teaching method includes task purpose, teacher's role, and student's role. And it has three parts: pre-task activity, teacher's task cycle stage, and analyzes the task stage. The research on task-driven method in our country mainly focus on theoretical research. The application of task-driven method in practical teaching is still in the development stage. Two and two flipped classroom model are introduced here. The first one divided the flipped classroom into two parts, before class and during class, and briefly introduced two basic links, before class and during class. The second is the four stage model. It divided the flipped classroom into 4 stages: experience participant, concept exploration, meaning construction, and demonstration and application. But they all have certainly limitation. So this study task-driven flipped class model build process at the starting point. Consider the grade 7 students' cognitive development characteristic. Design a set of suitable drive-based education based on task to flip the classroom teaching mode, including independent study knowledge before class, after class, and to consolidate raise 3 stages. Each stage corresponding to the specific activity to the teachers and students. Students always collaboration in a personalized learning environment with tasks throughout the flipped classroom teaching process. Next, the 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 evaluation methods of this teaching mode include formative evaluation and summative evaluation. Summative evaluation. The formative evaluation refers to an evaluation of the user learning situation, including the completion of basic tasks, improvement tasks, and open tasks in the rural course teaching. The 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 summative evaluation refers to the results of the final test of the students, aiming to detect the learning effect of this semester. And there are two types of Then there are two types of variables called independent variables and dependent variables. The independent variables are instructional mode, includes task-driven flipped classroom, and traditional instructional mode. And the dependent variables are achievement, ability, satisfaction in English learning. In this third chapter describes research design, population, research samples, research instruments, data collection methods, data analysis methods. This study used experimental research to test hypotheses and found the relationship between variables. Um, the students were divided into two groups, experimental group and control group. The whole study period 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 was 8 weeks. Satisfaction and ability questionnaires were conducted in the first week and the 8th week. As for the achievement test, through a quasi-experiment design, both groups were given a pretest in the first week to ensure that students had the same basis and were comparable. The test will be repeated at week 4 and week 8 to calculate changes in scores before and after comparison. To compares the effect of two teaching modes on students' English learning achievement, ability, and satisfaction. The population in this study is middle school students studying in rural middle school in our city. The sample of this study is students from two middle schools in our city. Researchers will use simple random sampling and select two of all rural middle schools in our city for research. Their teaching speed and level were the same. This study adopts English achievement test, learning ability, and satisfaction questionnaire. This study used these tools to investigate the impact of independent variables on dependent variables. The first research instrument of this study is the pre-test, mid-test, and post-test of English learning achievements. The second instrument is the questionnaire survey, including the pre-questionnaire and post-questionnaire of learning ability and satisfaction. This study conducted a pilot study among 30 students from number 27 middle school. According to the data collected and analyzed in the previous study, Cronbach alpha value obtained by the researchers is shown in this table. The reliability value is fairly high. Therefore, the atom in the questionnaire have a strong reliability and acceptability, and this atom has high reliability. According to the study design, data on students' achievement, ability, satisfaction will be collected through tests and questionnaire. SPSS 27 version will be used to analyze the data collection by the instrument, and we will use independent sample t-test and ANCOVA to analyze this data.